Hey, my name is Fred the Finch. You might know me as Ronald, and I'm one of the best Yamatos in the game right now. Since the patch on October 10th, I've seen more and more people than ever say that Yamato is dead, Yamato is useless, Yamato is F tier, and while she obviously did get a lot of nerfs in this patch, I don't think that's the case. You just have to approach her differently. So in this video, we're just going to be going over what changed, what you need to change, and how you can still make Yamato work. The biggest and most obvious change to her this patch is just the straight up nerfs to her. She got her power slash cooldown increased by 2 seconds, although it does get decreased back down after the tier 2 upgrade, so this makes your early games a little bit weaker and you have to play a little bit safer. And then the ult no longer gives you any resistances and is reduced by 0.5 seconds again. And just like last patch, some of the random gameplay changes actually affect Yamato a lot more than many of the item changes, and even some of the Yamato changes themselves. Before this patch, you were able to shoot the Guardians from the stairs, and you would have cover, and you would have your infinite ammo tricks. But now you have to be up past the ramp to shoot at the Guardians, and they deal 20% more damage to you. This means that anytime you go to shoot the Guardian, you're much more out in the open, and you can't really avoid the damage from the other person, as well as making tower diving much more risky because they can just melt you down and you'll die faster. Because of the changes to the cooldown on Yamato's slash, as well as these Guardian changes, you do have to play your early game a little bit slower, and you can only really pressure the Guardian when they are dead, but because the tier 2 camp spawn earlier now, you can go jungle a little bit earlier. Just make sure that when you are jungling, you're not missing any waves because troopers are also very easy souls, and if they die, then you'll never get those souls, and you're missing out on a lot of net worth there. Because early game Yamato got nerfed, I added a few more items that will allow me to win lane easier even without that cooldown, with headshot boost from restorative shot, which will do more damage and keep me out for longer. But the overall idea of laning is generally the same. It's just a little bit slower in the start, and you can't really shoot Guardian unless you kill the other person. Another big change for her is that Bullet and Spirit Lifesteal now stack diminishingly, and if you don't know what that means, that just means that the higher lifesteal that you get, the less value you'll actually get out of it. So if you buy like Spirit Lifesteal, that gives you 23% Spirit Lifesteal, right? And that'll take you from 0 to 23%. But then if we buy Leech on top of that, which gives 35% Spirit Lifesteal, instead of going from 23% to 58% Lifesteal, we only get up to 50%. And this is just because the higher the number gets, the less value you actually get out of it. So if you just stack a bunch of Lifesteal, you end up actually losing a lot of value. So, instead of just stacking lifesteal, I've gone the route of trying to give myself as many different forms of healing as possible so I don't run into that issue and I still am just as sustainable as before, but in different ways. One of the most drastic changes to the build is just dropping Spirit Lifesteal and taking Restorative Locket over it. Restorative Locket got a pretty reasonable buff this patch, and it was already pretty comparable to Spirit Lifesteal, especially in the mid game. After this nerf to Lifesteal, I believe that Restorative Locket is significantly stronger than Spirit Lifesteal, although it does take a little bit of getting used to. If you don't know how the locket works, basically if an enemy uses an ability within 50 meters of you, it stores a stack in your restorative locket. Each stack will heal you up to 35, and you have 15 max stacks. Upon activation of the ability of the active, it will heal you for all the stacks. It's a little bit confusing, but once you use it, it makes sense. With ult giving 0 resistances now, by the end of it, you're very often 1 HP, if not just super low. But if you use your restorative locket stacks right before the ult ends, you can very often get 500 free healing and come out of your ult still healthy, so you can keep fighting. Also when you ult, you'll have a lot of people using abilities around you, which will build up your restorative locket stacks, so by the end, you'll very often have 15 full stacks for a full heal. With the duration on ult nerfed, duration extender and superior duration become super strong items, even stronger than before, and I believe they become absolutely needed in any Yamato build. This also allows you more time to build up your restorative locket stacks, so once you come out of ult, you have more health. We also have our staples of the build with melee lifesteal, we have heal bane, and these are giving different ways to steal health rather than just straight up spirit lifesteal. And then we still do have sources of spirit lifesteal from soul shredder bullets, mystic reverb, and spiritual overflow. Not many of the item changes made a very big impact on your build choice. One of the most important things that they did change is they nerfed escalating exposure in a lot of different ways, so it gives less spirit resist reduction, less amp, and the duration is shorter. So for my build, I've completely removed that line of escalating exposure against the tankier teams, as I just don't think it competes with reverb on Yamato anymore. It's still a decent item, just I don't think it's as strong for her. Spiritual Overflow also got a nice buff, where instead of just an overall 20% fire rate, once you activate it, you get 35% fire rate and 50 spirit instead of 40. While this may sound like a nerf, it only takes 3 bullets to really activate the spiritual overflow, so this is a really big buff and it's really nice. I would even go as far as to say is it could be strong enough to buy before reverb and then put reverb after refresher, but I still need to do a lot of testing on this, so just keep an eye out for that and try it out yourself. Overall, while this patch was a big nerf to Yamato, I do think she's still very viable. You just need to approach her differently with a little bit more of a hybrid play style, a little bit slower early game, and looking at different forms of healing rather than just stacking spirit lifesteal. If you have any ideas, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Feel free to ask me in my Discord or my Twitch, which I'll link below. If you enjoyed and if you learned anything, please drop a sub, and I will see you guys next time.